flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. We remain standing for a few moments to honor our troops and their families. Okay, thank you. Tonight we have a proclamation to be read by Councilwoman Nicolay on Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Designating the month of October each year as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, NBCAM, educates women about the importance of early detection for breast cancer. Since NBCAM's inception, mammography use has doubled and breast cancer death rates have declined. Still, many women do not utilize mammography at regular intervals. Whereas in recognition of the fact that mammography is the best available method of detecting breast changes that may be cancer long before physical symptoms can be seen or felt, and that breast cancer deaths could decline further if all women aged 40 and older receive mammograms at regular intervals. Whereas October 2016 marks the 32nd anniversary of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is dedicated to increasing awareness of breast cancer issues, especially the importance of early detection. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim October as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. All women and their families in the Borough of Belmar, County of Monmouth, and the State of New Jersey are urged to get the facts about mammography and breast cancer detection.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, we have a workshop discussion. At the last two meetings, we had a very knowledgeable gentleman come up, speak to us about the reevaluation. We told him that we'd look into it. So we have asked our tax assessor, Ed Mullane, and Robin Kirk, our CFO, to come up and explain to us this reevaluation that Belmar is going to be going through. So Ed, are you here? And Robin, could you come up to the microphone?
If you could just address the council, Ed, you're going to address the council and have questions you might have.
Yeah, you just, is that on, April? Oh, see when you take that button and you turn it to the on?
Yes, talk about reevals.
Reevaluate. Okay, and can you give us a little explanation of what this townwide reevaluation is all about?
Sure. The idea is to change everyone's assessment to be the market value of their property. And the last time this project was done in the year 2002. So what the state has ordered us to do is go door to door and collect the correct information from every building in town to determine the market value of the properties.
The market value. When it was, we had a gentleman talk to us, said that there's like 3 ways to do this. And that the choice that the company that's going to be reevaluating us has selected the most expensive way, or would work against our favor. Can you just explain?
Well, I would disagree with the gentleman. In the appraisal world, there's 3 different kinds of approaches to value. One is called the cost approach, where you would measure the building and apply it to a standardized manual to come up with a standard value of replacement costs. And if you add it to the land value based on neighborhood, it would give you the market value. The other approaches is the sales comparison approach, where you would compare sales that sold and closed from arm's length properties, which means no foreclosures, and compare it to the subject property. The third method is called the income approach, and that would be by analyzing the income of commercial properties. And due to the complex nature of the reevaluations, the state Supreme Court has ordered all reval companies to do every property based on the cost approach so that there can be equal parameters applied to each property.
Who did?
I'm sorry, that mean we don't get a choice?
No, all properties are always done by the cost approach.
Okay.
And that's, who says that?
The state Supreme Court.
Oh, just then.
Okay, and they've selected that approach. Obviously, that's the way this company that we've selected. Who's the company that we selected?
Well, there is 8 approved reevaluation companies in the state of New Jersey as approved by the Division of Taxation. And we mailed a request for proposals to all 8 companies and requested for them to make a proposal to us. And we received 2 bids. One of them was deemed insufficient, and the remaining proposal was accepted.
How was it insufficient? The company,
The second company said that it was too soon to do a reevaluation and they couldn't finish in a timely manner, and they were proposing to only do it for next year.
so why don't we wait until next year?
The borough is under order by the tax court to have it completed by January 1st of this coming year.
We actually appealed to the judge to have an extension so that we could go with this, or at least entertain this other company, and the judge said absolutely not.
So is this a judge from the Supreme Court?
No, it's a state judge.
Tax court judge.
Or Superior Court of New Jersey, I should say. I'm
Says-
sorry.
He says we have to do it by December 31st of 2016?
Yes.
So this other company, what's the name of this other company that's going to be doing it?
The name of the company is Realty Appraisal Company, and the company that was rejected was Appraisal Systems Incorporated.
We only had 2 responses, although we mailed it to all 8 companies.
You can't, we can't select one of the other 6 companies.
No, they did not.
You can only choose a company that responded to the,
Correct. That's the request for proposal law.
I think since 2001, my house has had twice. Was that always the cost approach?
Yes.
Has that been in place? Okay.
Yes, I
And even
actually-
though it happened a few years ago, we still all get,
Well, sure, if you built a new house after 2002, we would measure your house and apply it to these state manuals and pretend it was the year 2002. Because everyone needs to be taxed on the same standard of value.
and every town, is the square footage cost amount the same? Or does it matter what town you're in, or what area of New Jersey, or straight for the flat rate?
The cost manual would be the same for all towns.
Okay,
The land may possibly change because of the geographic location within the state.
okay,
But the actual per square foot of the, let's say, a bedroom is X dollars per square foot,
okay.
X dollars per square foot for a bathroom. And then do they vary that per square foot depending on the age?
There's a factor for depreciation based on the
Depreciation.
addition. So if you were in an older house, you would be assigned the physical depreciation number to lower it down. So everyone's house is not assessed as if it's new, it's assessed as if it's a used house.
oh, I thought the gentleman said that a 100-year-old house and a 5-year-old house would be assessed the same way. You say there is a formula in there where the older house would be not as, let's say, valued as high as the brand-new house?
Correct. Part of the procedure of the inspector going to each house would be to note what they would be called the effective age of the house. And that would be the age of the house as it has improvements in it. For example, a 100-year-old house would have an insufficient roof and furnace and windows, where a renovated house or one that might have an effective age of 20 would have a new furnace, a new hot water heater, replacement windows, vinyl siding, sheetrock, bathrooms, kitchens, plumbing, and electric.
You're talking about a 100-year-old house with the original 100-year-old roof?
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Would be highly depreciated and would be assessed for much, much less
Fall down.
than a new
Okay.
house.
Oh, and if you have a, like with mine, I have a 100-year-old house with a new roof that I got for Sandy, they would figure that in somehow.
Correct.
I gotta tell you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just love the idea that somehow my bathroom is worth the same as a bathroom in Rumson. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, if there's 3 ways to do it, why is the state Supreme Court only allowing us to use 1 way? What if we want to appeal?
Well, if you want to appeal, you would present comparable sales to prove the cost approach method to be incorrect.
Is that one, that's one of the other ways, you say?
That is one of the other ways. So every property has to be done by the cost approach, so people are equally and fairly assessed according to a common book. Then if you feel it's incorrect, you can present your sales.
So you can appeal by one of those 2 other methods?
Correct. Before the end of the procedure, every single resident will get an informal letter with the total assessment that's going to be put on the books with an opportunity to have a review and a meeting with the inspectors to go over all the information that was collected. Then they will re-examine the cards of the people that requested inspections, and the final numbers would go out.
At that point, though, you would also, there's a certain date, January 15th, for appeals.
Right. After the official number goes out, everyone will get their official postcard, which is called a notice of assessment, on or around December 1st. And then if they're still unhappy with their number, they would have till January 15th to appeal to the County Board of Taxation.
Could you request a detailed report, like we do have home basement because of sand? Like, would you have a report that says this is a 100-year-old house, new, or do they not get that detail that they share with the residents?
No, they get very detailed. As a matter of
But
fact,
is that
all the
something we
property
can-
cards are on the internet, and any resident could look at anybody's card to review it for accuracy.
Actually, it looks like that.
I brought one just as an example if anybody wanted to take a review.
And it would say the effective age that they've come up with, things like that.
Thank you.
The depreciation, you were talking about a 100-year-old house and a 20-year-old house. What is the comparison of, not between 100 and a 20, but what about 80, 60? Is there some formula that they're using that goes by like every 10 years or something?
Yes, there's a division at the State Department of Taxation where they analyze them every year and come up with a number for every single year.
Okay, thank you.
I know some people are uncomfortable with letting the assessor in to examine their house. I mean,
Yeah.
is there a harm or a benefit either way to, I mean, they can do it without coming in the house, right?
Well, if they don't get in the house, they'll make an estimate from the sidewalk and it could be incorrect.
It could be incorrect.
Right, and basically, we're paying $20 per house to have the inspector go to the house. So if the resident
Whether they get in or
chooses-
not.
If they get in or not. So if the resident chooses to not let them in,
Okay.
then it's really a $20 waste, and then an estimate is made.
So, I mean, it's basically the resident might be taking a chance that by keeping them out, say, maybe their assessment might be lower, or
It could go the other way.
it could go the other way. If they decide to appeal, what happens if they haven't let somebody in their house? If they haven't let the assessor come in the house, what happens if their appeal, does that hurt them then?
Well, the appeal would be heard, but it would be based on the estimated information.
Tom brought up a good point, Colleen. Some of the residents might be concerned about people that they don't know knocking on their door. How are we handling that?
Well, the process that the company is using is actually better than what we anticipated, at least from my perspective. What they typically do is they leave a card at the house, asking the homeowner to call a number. They tell you who your inspector will be, to make an appointment. You can go to their website and see the photograph of that inspector. So if they say Colleen will be at your house at 11 o'clock on Friday, you can go to the website and see what Colleen looks like. So you know that's the person who's going to come to your house. We've gotten very good feedback so far, by and large, in terms of the professionalism and how on time they are. And that process has gone a little bit more smoothly than we first anticipated.
Where did they start? What part of town did they start?
They're basically all over the entire town. We've had phone calls from, but I think they've pretty much hit almost the entire town as far as, we're getting very close to it anyway.
So they've already started.
Yes.
Oh, they've done over 500 inspections, I think.
It sounds like there's several different inspectors.
Yes, there are.
Because the one was at doing the Rhode Island
Point
point
section.
section. So when he said that, I figured there's got to be more than one person here in town.
Yes.
He was very nice. He was in the house maybe 10 minutes tops.
Right.
So it was seamless.
So I think they've gone like that section and possibly 16th, I know they've done. I know we've had phone calls from north of 7th. So I think I know they have 2 here almost full time, sounds like, and then they're probably doing spots with other appointments.
You know, I just went through did a refine on the house. I mean, it sounds like basically the assessor that had to come over the house. I mean, he came in, walked around, took pictures of the left. Barely there 10 minutes, like you said.
I mean, how many, I think we just got a report on how many they've actually completed.
Yeah, they just sent in the report, they have done 500.
So
Cool.
we have about 2,800 properties in town, so.
If you miss them, maybe once or twice, can you request for them to come back because you would like them to coincide?
Well, each neighborhood has a specific inspector number, and he sort of hangs around in that neighborhood for about 2 weeks, and that's why you should call right away. If you don't get them, then they'll come back at the end.
What about the summer homes? There are people who are only here in the summer, and if something is left on their front door, they won't get it until next June.
I think they were trying to hit certain areas of town to leave those knockers, more like to the southern and stuff like that, kind of right around Labor Day. There's some left, I know that. I don't know if they hit every single one. We did send letters out with tax bills that people should be expecting this, or to call if for some reason they weren't, they weren't going to be back, or they were going to leave at Labor Day and never return. So there was a letter in the tax bill. We're also mailing out water bills. It might be something, those are going to go out the next day, that we can also throw on the bottom of that, just to get people more aware of it
I
also.
think that's
They work weekends too.
Right. Also, on that card there's a place to go on the website, their website, to your actual inspector's appointments, where you can actually see when he has availability, is my understanding. So that's another quick way where you can actually see what time can I pick and throw your name into it. So rather than playing phone tag with the inspector.
Last question for me. I understand that this company, RFP, has some legal situations. Will that affect their work?
That's not my understanding.
In other words, you can't appeal on what?
No.
All right. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, boss.
Okay, it is October, and there is a hurricane in the Caribbean. Mike Campbell, could you please come and tell us that this Hurricane Matthew is not going to hit Belmar?
I would love to tell you that. We're hoping for 70 and sunny.
Very good.
However, in the case it's not, tomorrow we will see a bulldozer on the beach starting to extend the dunes. We have started to lower the lakes. We spoke with Spring Lake, and we started with our lake, Silver Lake. On Friday, the 2 large bathroom trailers that are on the boardwalk will be removed. It's time anyway, but
Great.
again, erring on the side of caution. We've also contacted Godwin Pumps, and we've put pumps on standby. When this gets closer, we see what's going on in case we need pumps. They'll get us pumps for the lakes again. And other than that, for every storm like this, we always end up jetting the cross pipes, cleaning out the sewers, vacuuming and jetting all the major lines to get them ready to handle a extensive influx of water. And then also, as you know, Sal and Kevin, who are our landscapers, Sal's on the Shade Tree Commission, will take a run down the streets just to look for any branches that they think might become missiles of rain, and we'll trim them up as we get closer.
Not to put you on the spot, there are some smaller trees that are dead. Right? If they probably won't blow down, but if they can, when they're looking for big limbs and they see a smaller tree that zip with a chainsaw, that might, if they have time. The geographical low point in Belmar is like K Street and Highway 35. We just talked about the beach. What about over there? Is there anything we can do?
Again, all we can do over there is jet the lines and make sure everything is clear. With the last big storm, I'm not talking about Ryan, the last big rain we had, the water was handled, some streets flooded. Within an hour, the water was handled for the most part, and it was gone. So again, it has been working, and we're optimistic we'll bear through this one again.
Now, most people don't know, but it's flowing better now because when you jetted it a couple months ago, did you find any concrete in those drains?
Yes, we did.
And that's what held up a lot of the flooding from years ago.
Yes.
So now with the big storm, we'll have better drainage.
Yes, for sure. That was cleared out. Again, Charlie Vandalin is getting the marina ready. We've contacted boat owners. We'll send out another warning to them getting close for them to, at least be advised that there is a storm, whether they want to ride it out or move. And we do have already some transients coming in. They elect to come to Belmar in the storm to ride out the storm by us.
Okay. Colin, can you, I don't see any of the policemen here, can you tell us what our police department is planning?
Sure. In advance of storms like this, at this point, we are ensuring that all of our equipment is serviced, up to date, ready to go. If it appears that the storm will be impacting us significantly, our police fleet will be moved out to Wall, and we will operate out of the military surplus equipment that we have acquired for this explicit purpose. And so at this point, we are monitoring the situation through the state OEM, receiving updates from them. And if at any such time there's a declared state of emergency in New Jersey that would capture our area, our emergency management team would go into place.
Great. Mike, one other question. I know some of those military trucks that we've got, seems like some of those big tires are flat, but someone told me that they automatically inflate.
As soon as you turn them on.
Hey, could you explain that to you? Some people drive by, let's say, get into recycling, they see those big tires flat.
And I don't like getting complaints, but when I get that complaint, I am happy.
All right. Can you explain to the audience what happens to those tires for the military trucks?
There's a compressor on for each tire in the military trucks. And as the tires go low, there's a sensor goes off. As soon as it's to a certain point, once the engine is running, the tires inflate themselves. So we start it, after about 10 minutes, it just kicks on, fills the tires, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Great. Wish they do that.
Smart military.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Petitions. Is there anybody out there in the audience that want to present the council with a petition? Seeing none, we'll move to the approval of minutes. Councilwoman Blackburn?
I move that the minutes of the meeting held on September 20th, 2016 be approved as recorded, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
I'll second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kell Blackburn?
Yes.
Okay, reports of council.
Am I up?
Councilwoman, we'll go with you first.
Sidewalk assessment. You've probably received a letter just in the last day or two. There's quite a bit of information that I was just handed a little while ago about it. The contractor will be A&A Curbing. It's the same contractor who did the curbing and the concrete work down along the boardwalk. And it was such a positive experience with that we're glad to have them back again. As I said, about 400 flyers went out to properties that are affected by this. And there will be 2 informational sessions, Saturday, October the 18th, and Saturday, October the 15th, at 11 a.m. right here in this room.
Sorry, 8th and 15th. I don't know if I wrote that wrong, I apologize.
8th and 15th of October. At 11 a.m. here in this room. Bob Huff, our code enforcement officer, is the liaison between the town and the contractor. And he will be signing off on a contract that each homeowner who will be getting a sidewalk or curbing with this company will be signing. And basically the contract will be a definition of the work that is to be done. And it also, it says here, let me just read it. Work to be placed on the assessment and what work the homeowner may engage the contractor for above and beyond. I've been asked from quite a few people about their driveways, and is it possible for somebody to have this contractor also do a driveway? So that's work above and beyond the sidewalk and curbing that the town is requesting. And there will also be a document that will certify that a homeowner is opting out. If you do not want this contractor to do it, you're able to opt out of the program, but then you have to have it completed, have the work completed on your own within 3 months. So if you're opting out, there will be something for you to sign. Tonight we'll be introducing 2016-11, which is an update to the ordinance, and it concerns the slate and the brick sidewalks. So the people who have slate and brick sidewalks will be able to keep those, upgrade those more or less the same way with code enforcement approval. On to the Lake Como pipe. We are finally in permitting and finalizing the bid specs. So it's been a long haul. It took so long. We did Silver Lake so quickly because Silver Lake is Belmar's. This required all kinds of approvals from the state of New Jersey, and we've been going back and forth with the EPA for several years now. It is finally going to get done, and by the end of October, we should be out to bid. On to other things. 16th Avenue. If you use 16th Avenue, you'll notice that it's closed. If you drive down there anytime it rains, like 2 drops of rain, it's flooded there at the railroad tracks. And for years and years, the Borough of Belmar has been complaining to New Jersey Transit and to the county about that section. Finally, they are getting ready, or they are fixing it. So hopefully the next large rainstorm, after they've completed their work, we won't be down to driving on the center line of that road. This past Sunday, the Belmar Women's Club and the Central Jersey Blood Center sponsored a blood drive here. We had 19 people come in to give blood, to donate. 16 units were accepted. And I certainly want to thank the first aid squad and all of the volunteers who came out and helped and made it such a success. And then some hopefully good news in the future. As you know, or as you may know, the Methodist Church has closed its doors. But the pantry, the food pantry is there, the clothes closet is there, and the scouts have been meeting there. The town has talked to the pastor, and then we've talked to the pastor's boss about opening a senior center there. Nothing is in stone yet. We're waiting to hear back from the head honchos at the Methodist, and I'm not quite sure what you would call it, but the big guys anyway. And I was very adamant, when I talked to Colleen and to Matt about it, I was very adamant that the scouts needed to remain there, and the food pantry and clothes closet needed to remain there if we did open a senior center there, if we're able to use that building for a senior center. So those will certainly be staying if we are able to do this. We're hoping to hear back from the Methodist organization. We kind of thought we'd hear back already, but we have not. So I'm hoping that sometime this week we'll hear back from them with some good news. And that's it.
Thank you. Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I don't have anything to report that's happened already. A couple of things that I wanted to let people know about. I was up in an area called the Round Valley Recreation Area. It's up by Lebanon, New Jersey, weekend before last. And one of the things I noticed at their waterfront is they have a station that you can recycle your tangled fish lines. I've never seen anything like that before, so I'm going to do a little looking into that and then forward that information to the Harbor Commission, see if maybe this might be something you might want to have over at the marina. Also, with the Environmental Commission, we're definitely looking into seeing what we can do about getting some plantings down by the boardwalk, between the boardwalk itself and the skeleton, so we can reinforce the dunes there. My impression in Belmar is that no one really wants to have the kind of dunes, the high dunes that people have in other towns, and that's fine with me, I kind of agree with that. But we do need to do something to reinforce the protection for the boardwalk. We've gone through so much to rebuild, and we want to take care of it. And I think the best way to do that would be with native plants that thrive in that kind of environment. They take less care. There are some that flower, and they're pretty and very attractive. So we've gotten a list from Rutgers that has a whole list of native plants that will grow. Don't need trees, but shrubs and other things like that. One of the things you want to stay away from, you want to be careful with dune grass, because if you plant dune grass, you can't do anything to it after that. I mean, you're not allowed to touch dune grass once it starts growing. But there are plenty of other things that you can take care of, so we're going to be looking into that. Okay. And I'm looking forward, fingers crossed, the Oktoberfest on Sunday. Very good, a lot of fun. I must say, I was there last year and I got to see the Stein hoisting contest. And I gotta tell you, the woman who won totally crushed the man. It was like, oh my God, it was amazing how it was. Well, we'll just see if it happens again. All right, that's it for me.
Thank you, Tom. Jen?
DPW, I think Mr. Campbell had gone through that. Belmar Arts Council, they had a very successful event in September with selfies. I know I pitched the Arts Council, and now it's called the Arts Center all the time, but it is a wonderful place. And please at least go to one show, and I'm sure you'll go to many others after that. For the month of October, the show is called Wicked, and I just pulled up a description, but basically in a nutshell it says anything that's sinister, Halloween, ghouls, scary, so that sounds pretty neat. Recreation, basketball registrations are taking place. Please call the borough or see Ray Claudio if you need to sign up. Belmar Elementary School, they've got a lot going on, but this week especially is the week of respect. And children are taught great lessons, but each day they wear something different. It was blue on Monday, and today was gold, to show that you're supporting and you follow the rules. Tomorrow is my favorite day, pajama day, so my kids get up and go in what they're wearing. Thursday is sweatpants, and then Friday is hippie day. Part of hippie day, we're promoting for people to go to Nostalgic Nonsense. I always push shop local for anything you need. And October 22nd, still we're doing Touch a Truck, bonfire, fireworks. Just rescheduled, so again, that's October 22nd. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. From the Historical Society, next Tuesday, a week from tonight, 7 o'clock in this room, they're going to have author Joseph Bilby, who wrote the book, The History of Submarine Warfare Along the Jersey Coast, giving a program here. And apparently the history of submarines goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War. It should be a very entertaining program that this gentleman is going to be giving. It's free, and it's the Historical Society is putting it on. Last week, an employee of the Belmar Elementary School stopped into the Belmar Museum, and what he was carrying, which they were about to throw out, was the cornerstone of the school from 1894. And it's now in the possession of the Historical Society. And what I didn't know, reading Grace Roper's book of Belmar in retrospect, that at one time the Belmar Elementary School was located at 8th Avenue and Main Street. Apparently that's where this cornerstone came from. Before they built the school at 11th Avenue, a stone building at between 11th and 12th Avenue in 1909 or something like that. So I think that's a very valuable piece of history that Belmar has that was about to go into the dumpster. The Belmar Arts Center is hosting every Wednesday of the month of October a robotics program for students in the grades 3 through 7. It is from 4 to 6 p.m. over here at the Arts Center. It's $20 per session, or you can do $75 to do all 4.
It was actually, unfortunately, canceled, because I read about it and wanted my daughter to do it, but everybody's got sports and activities, so maybe they can reschedule it to another time. But they did cancel that, and I'm talking to them about offering it another time. Because, you know, if you have a child that age, I would definitely look into it, because it looks great.
How much for this? Okay. At the planning board meeting last week, some people from the Friends of Shark River came by, and they suggested that along that area that could be redeveloped, to start putting in filters for the stormwater drains, so that it would, we would capture any pollutants that might be going straight into the Shark River as it is now. Apparently we don't have any filters, so I think that's a real good idea to do that, and we'll bring it up at the Harbor Commission when they meet again. I think it's a great idea. A little shout out, pat on my back. I teach at St. Peter's in Point Pleasant. They were just announced last week to be a Blue Ribbon School of Excellence by the Department of Education. There's just a little bit more than 300 in the country and only 5 in the state of New Jersey. And I think it's due to the phys ed program.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably because you're there.
Okay. Also want to mention that one of our residents, Michaela Mabry, was just hired as the assistant basketball coach at the University of Miami. Very good. Now, we all know that there was a referendum last week. There was a yes, there was a very no. And I fully understand the campaigning for, to express the different points of view. I understand the purpose of the lawn signs. I understand the purpose of the flyers. That's fine. But there was one no flyer that I think went over the line. It was the no flyer that listed 3 people from Bertzel Engineering on the flyer who are in jail for their illegal contributions. One of them is Tom Rospos. Tom Rospos grew up in Belmar. He lives in Belmar. His family lives in Belmar. His mom worked as a clerk here in Belmar. Okay, I think there's okay with your message. I think there's a different way to get the message across than putting their pictures on a flyer with an extra when they're in jail. Let's not humiliate the person, because Tom was our borough engineer for so many years. And we never complained about the work he did for Belmar. The fact that he lived in Belmar, I think he always worked a little bit harder. And I think that was priceless. Did he make a mistake? Yes. Did the other officials from Bertzel make a mistake? Yes. They're getting punished for it. Why they did it, I don't know, because Bertzel Engineering has been the engineering company for the borough of Belmar since probably before Mayor McCleary. And we were never going to get rid of Bertzel Engineering. But I just think it was mean-spirited to put the pictures of someone that was in jail. Let's stick to the issues. Yes or no. Let's not humiliate anybody. That's all I have to say. That's it for reports of council. Mike.
Brian, can I just add one thing? We did add a leaf collection over at the waterworks.
Yes.
For people who are now doing yard work with all the winds and everything else. You're allowed to drop off your leaves across from 805 13th in the waterworks yard. We have a large bin there. So Belmar residents can go there, drop off the leaves. That will keep them from putting them in the street for the next storm. It helps everybody not to get the leaves in the drain. So again, if you wish to do it, you may bring it there. We do have the street sweeper going around trying to clean up everything and make sure things are done. But again, if you're so inclined, we did open it up, and it's there during our work hours which is 7 o'clock in the morning. We're there until approximately 3:30 every afternoon. You can drop it off there with no problem.
Mike, can you bring it in bags, or do you have to go?
You can bring it any way you want.
Oh.
We prefer you take the bag with you when you're done, just dump the
Sure.
leaves, but obviously bring it any way you want.
Okay.
The plastic has to be separated before we bring it to the yard that we bring it to.
All right, thank you.
We can still rake the leaves to the,
Yes.
okay. With that being said, the Friends of the Shark River, they did recommend that when you rake your leaves, don't rake them into the street, because then when it rains, all the pollutants from the leaves and everything run into the sewer, and it goes into Silver Lake, goes into Lake Como, goes into Shark River. I think our ordinance calls for raking the leaves and leaving them on the little boulevard between the sidewalk and the street.
And the curb.
And the curb, okay. I think it makes it a little bit harder for our guys to pick it up, does it?
It does, but that's what we do.
But I think environmentally speaking, it is better for our lakes and river that we do not place our leaves into the street. So if you could just kind of think about doing that, that'd be appreciated.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, now, public session on resolutions. Only on the agenda. We will continue to have a public session at the end of this meeting. All matters listed in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Borough Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to come up and talk about anything, any of the resolutions? Come on up, sir. Just name and address to April.
Tom Fay, 400 River Avenue. Hello, everyone. I just want to say that based on the ordinance and referendum that was last week, in light of what you just said, Councilman McGovern, that I agree with you. I think that that flyer was in bad taste. And I'm a proponent of the no vote, which is what you all know.
That's fine, if it was someone on the yes that did it, I'd be upset
Correct,
also.
yeah, just letting you know that most of the people in there also thought it was in bad taste. It probably cost us some votes, if nothing else. And I actually think it's just as bad as receiving a mailer that, for the other side that contained, misinformation and lies, but that's neither here nor there. I have a couple questions about the ordinance itself, and this is kind of like a civics lesson for me, so hopefully I'll follow the rules and address the chair, but these questions are for everyone, so if you know the answer, just shout it out. Did you have any input in crafting the ordinance, the new ordinance, the amended ordinance?
In other words,
The ordinance, the amended version, the 2016-1, did you have any input in crafting it?
The pay-to-play ordinance?
the pay-to-play ordinance.
It's not on tonight. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
the certification
It's
of
kind
the
of
election results is on tonight, so any questions pertaining to that.
Yeah, Tom, I think you're gonna have to come up to the public portion to
Okay,
speak on that right
We can
now.
only talk about the election itself?
What's that?
We can only talk about the election itself?
Comment in this period is for items that they're about to vote on.
Yeah,
So if you have questions or concerns about resolution regarding the results of the special election on September 27th, that would be appropriate. If you have other comments, you might want to wait till the end.
Okay.
sounds like you wanna come at the public portion, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. See, we are voting on the resolution to approve the results of the referendum. And then you can come up later to the public portion, speak about anything you want. So that's when Tom will probably come back up and ask those questions. So, seeing nobody else from the public, I move to close the public portion on the resolution. Calendar?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Do I have a motion to accept?
To authorize payment of bills.
Okay, the authorization of the payment of bills.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Kilpatrick?
Yes.
And then the consent.
Okay, can I have a motion to vote on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Kilpatrick?
Yes.
Okay, now we move to the ordinances. Second reading and public hearing on ordinance number 2016-10, ordinance of the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Belmar in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, amending the Seaport redevelopment plan to include Block 106, lots 1 through 3, 5 through 6, 10.01, 10.02, and 11. Block 116, lots 1 to 2, Block 117, lots 1 through 4, 6 through 9, and 12 through 15. Block 67, lot 4.01, Block 86, lots 1 through 7, Block 86.01, Lot 1, Block 87, lots 1 through 3, and Block 96, lots 1 and 3 through 9. Do I have a second? Oh, no, we have a public portion. Anybody in the audience that'd like to come up and speak on the ordinance 2016, which is the adoption of the Seaport redevelopment plan? Come on up. Just state your name and address.
Hi, Jim Bean, 612 16th Ave. Just, how are these properties picked?
Well, we had our redevelopment attorney and his company, right, George? What's his name? I forget the guy's name.
Well, we had a planner,
Yeah, his name is
and Phil Northridge.
Bill Northridge.
But is this the same lawyer that illegally put the boardwalk in redevelopment?
I think Bill Northridge was a lawyer in the,
He was
yes,
that
he was,
person?
yes.
Okay, and do the property owners know you're putting their properties in redevelopment?
April, they were probably notified, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're all notified, yes.
Did they have a chance to say, I don't want this?
Yes,
Did
we
they,
have public portions.
did any of them come forward and say?
They did not. We did have some public input, but there were no people saying, not my property. Now, when this passes, you don't have to redevelop your piece of property. You just want to keep it the way it is. That's fine. One of the parts of this ordinance is there is no eminent domain. We cannot eminent domain any lot, piece of property, anything. So if you own a piece of property there and you don't want to do anything, fine.
So what is the defining reason for doing this? Like, why put the car lot in the redevelopment? Just, why that car lot? I really just picked that property. Why the car lot?
Well, the planners went through there, they evaluated the lot, I forget what some of the,
I know that the reasons, like for instance,
Right.
you had different reasons. You said Yeager Lumber was too close to the elementary school. That was one of the reasons. I read it. But why, like, just because the property fits the criteria, it doesn't mean we need to run in and do this real fast. There has to be something in the background that's saying this property probably needs to be redeveloped.
okay. Good answer, good question, because it does meet the criteria, and we wanted to keep this redevelopment area as uniform as we could. We don't want to pick a piece of property here, a piece of property there, over here. We wanted to make it as neat a package as we possibly can, as long as those properties met the criteria.
So just because of where they're geographically located, that's what you're saying, is the reason why you picked that, you kept them all.
Now, in other words, we picked the geographical area, we told our planners, can we expand this redevelopment area? And could you look at the pieces of property in that area and see if they meet the criteria.
So you're hoping that once you expand it, what's gonna happen? That they're going to redevelop it? That's why we're doing this?
If they want to redevelop it, yes, they can, and it does give them some advantages to redevelop.
This is just a huge amount of properties, huge, like the car lot. It's a car lot, been a car lot forever. I wouldn't say that it's decrepit, needs to go, it's his business.
And what we saw, Jim, and good point, the northern part of the Seaport redevelopment area, which was from 8th Avenue North, is proven to be so successful that we were saying, hey, if it was successful from 8th to the bridge, let's see if we can get as much success from 10th to 12th, and then up to the highway.
Okay, that's success,
So,
you wanna see the success.
I mean, if you look at this area, it's doing real well. So that's what we're hoping, but if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Yes. Regina. I was thinking of Regina. I knew it wasn't Richie. I call my students by the wrong name all the time. Okay.
Between classes, B Street. Just to follow up what Jim said, once a property goes into redevelopment, the idea is to encourage the person who owns the building to make it better, to maybe put some apartments on top or whatever retail. My question is, who, and there's a financial initiative for that person, right? And what would those financial advantages be to a person who puts their
I think there's a,
It would depend on the project.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, the negotiation of the contract with, because the borough, do they get a tax advantage, do they get a tax abatement? What exactly,
You mean the developer?
the developer,
First one.
if a developer, right,
They see it like it's like each project would be
the individual.
individual, and they all have to be go before a pretty intense review process.
Okay.
Because it's not just like, you don't just go to the planning board, you gotta go to the redevelopment review board too.
Right.
So there's a second layer of scrutiny on any project.
Okay.
So, no one's gonna really, no one wants to see the Taj Mahal going over there. We wanna see something that looks, like it's a benefit for the town. And again, the property owner is the one who decides if they wanna do it or not. If
Okay.
they wanna bond it, they don't have to.
I guess my question is, who makes the final decision on whether a property gets a tax abatement and how long that contract would be for? Who makes that final decision?
That would be subject to the redevelopment agreement that they would enter into, and that would be approved by the governing body.
So mayor and council.
Right.
Mayor and council makes the final decision on the redevelopment contract with the developer.
but they would have to go to the planning board first, and the planning board would make a recommendation.
Right. But the actual deal, final deal, is signed off by you guys and the mayor, correct?
Yes.
The redevelopment agreement cannot go into effect without the vote and approval of council.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kramer? Sorry.
Gene Kramer, Fourth Avenue. By the way, thank you very much. I did look at the borough website, and I guess there were 3 reports that were prepared for this expansion of the redevelopment area. I guess all the way from, 10th Avenue down to 12th Avenue and west over to the marina there. Excuse me, 8th Avenue, I guess is where North End would be. I didn't pay that much or spend that much time with it. The planner, Dave Roberts, this gentleman's been around here for quite a while. He's the same planner that prepared the report that didn't hold water in court when the the borough tried to designate the beachfront as a redevelopment area. But anyhow, I thought there were a couple of things, maybe somebody's got an answer. In there was a description of the type of shops and so on that perhaps could be developed there. I thought one was kind of interesting, I didn't know what it was. What is an impulse sales shop? I mean, is that like a tattoo parlor?
I don't know. No answer for you. Next.
Anyhow, that was, potential type of development that we could anticipate here. Anyhow, I saw a couple of redevelopment pitfalls that I think should be considered before any final action is taken on expanding the redevelopment area. One of them is gentrification. That's where redevelopment displaces poorer people. And I'm not saying poor people, but poorer people. And this expansion would completely surround the senior building that we have on 8th Avenue, which would ultimately result, now I say, with a stroke of the pen, those people potentially to be displaced.
They're already in the Seaport redevelopment area. Senior citizen home.
Excuse me?
They're already in the redevelopment Seaport zone. This new one, the expansion is from 8th Avenue, from 10th Avenue to 12th.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
But now they'll be completely surrounded by a redevelopment area. In other words, they potentially just stand in the way. This is what happens in Jersey City and other areas. I'm not saying or making a recommendation for or against. I just think it should be taken into consideration.
We will.
Okay. The other one is taxes, and I guess there were a couple of questions here. Most redevelopment deals are these payment in lieu of taxes, where the deal itself deals out public education. In other words, in those payment in lieu of taxes agreements, public education is generally not considered. And there's no money like there is with traditional real estate taxes, that taxes be paid to the school district. Something else to take into consideration in a town where allegedly, or I should say, we're trying to encourage families to come here. If you're not going to fund public education, then you better think of some alternatives. Okay?
Thank you.
And this is, unfortunately, this is what happens with redevelopment, is that public education gets shortchanged. Then the other issue I see here, which is very large, is transparency. I've never seen a redevelopment agreement signed by our mayor. I've read a lot about them in the Co-Star and in the Asbury Park Press, but and quite truthfully, what these things seem to boil down to, or at least this one that's ongoing here now, is one of breach of contract or a breach of the agreement. And all we have to listen to is headlines in the newspaper.
That's something different. That's not on this ordinance that we're talking about. You're talking about
redevelopment in general, sir.
And we're on the ordinance for this expansion from 10th to 12th. The other thing that you're talking about is something that's in the Seaport, which is in litigation, and, okay?
Exactly. But this is an expansion of the same sort of redevelopment area, okay? We have no idea as to what agreement, and we're responsible, by the way, as you all know, for whatever the mayor, our mayor, signs. We are ultimately responsible for it, and we don't get a look at it. I wish you would take those things into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gene.
To clarify the record, the redevelopment process actually adds an additional level of scrutiny on these development projects, and all agreements come to council for their adjustments.
Thank you. Yes?
I was just curious about looking at the redevelopment. Why wasn't the school carved out? Because I see that they had Marina View Towers carved out of the redevelopment. And I was just wondering why the school was including that.
Just to keep the lines straight, and the reason they didn't include the Del Rio, I still call it Del Rio Towers, is because that's fully developed right now. So, I mean, it's possible, who knows, possible that the school in a couple of years might need to expand to build a gymnasium or something.
All right, but the borough's not looking to take some property from the school or anything like that?
Oh, no, crazy, that's crazy talk. No, we would never look to take property away from the Board of Education.
It's, you know, it's included in the redevelopment, so.
Interestingly, history shows that 11th Avenue used to run through the property which is now the school playground. And many years ago, through eminent domain, the school took that and made it a playground. So it's possible that, you know, the school Board of Education might need to build another building if we.
All right, but there's no plans for anything?
Absolutely not. That would be crazy. Yeah, no,
All right, thank you.
The only thing, they plan on watering the grass.
into our pool. Yes? Say your name and address.
Yes, I'm Brendan Reed, 109th Avenue. I just wanted to express my support for Ordinance 2016 because I believe it will help improve the ability of our community to attract new investment. Marketed and executed correctly, the new redevelopment area could draw new year-round businesses and employers. It will support and diversify our economy, bolster our tax base, and create jobs. Now, Belmar, we've had quite an amazing run lately in attracting development, but there's more work to be done. For example, we've got many aging buildings who are out of compliance with the current codes and regulations in the area that will be subject to this new ordinance, and which is highly needed. But to capitalize on this new ordinance, I just have a few suggestions for you to consider with it. First, take a second look at the expanded redevelopment area to ensure that the zone is logical, clear, and contiguous, so that it can be understood and marketed. For example, you have to kind of take a look at Belmar from the perspective of the developer that you want to attract and investor you want to attract. Does this area really make economic sense? Does it make visible sense? Is it an area that we could properly market? Second suggestion is add clear language to notify those who want to take advantage of pilot that the borough reserves the right to add assessments for the public good as deemed necessary. I understand from a recent planning board meeting that the borough can add assessments to pilot, like for the BBP or for new parking.
That's correct.
So with this suggestion, businesses won't be surprised or face having to suddenly shell out charges or charge their tenants more money if and when the borough assesses these charges. Third, in concert with this ordinance and in conjunction with the new master plan, immediately undertake a comprehensive parking study with full public participation leading to implementation. Let's end the surface talk. That's time to take action. For example, I noticed that the master plan examination report discusses relocating Borough Hall to facilitate a new parking garage in a public-private partnership. You know, that's a suggestion. Let's take a look at a serious option in accordance with a complete and comprehensive study. Also in concert with this ordinance, the borough should devise and launch a comprehensive business attraction strategy, end-to-end, from marketing to permitting. This will serve as a one-stop shop for new business developers and investors to facilitate the projects. You know, finally, the borough should take a look at what other communities have done as model. Examine and decide on the type of businesses that Belmar can attract and focus on marketing and deliverable strategies accordingly. That way, we will continue to develop Belmar in the way that best fits our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Anybody else from the audience? Seeing none, I move to close the public portion on the ordinance 2016-10. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Aye. Do I have a motion to vote on the ordinance? Do I have a second?
Motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Councilman Brennan?
Before I vote, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. One point that was just raised is about affordable housing, and my discussions with council and the administrator, you know, it's really clear, there are some affordable housing units that are over in this new area that's been designated. If someone was to come to us saying, I want to redevelop this place where people are living right now, we would look long and hard at that. I mean, there's no way we want to see people displaced. You know, we want to make sure that people of all economic needs are able to live in Belmar. That's one of the things that makes our community so special, is all kinds of people live here. And I think that's one of the strengths in Belmar. So I just want to make sure that I go on record as saying that's something really important. Another thing that occurs to me, in an effort for all transparency, I need to let everybody know that the Charlotte River Cleanup Coalition that Brian's been referring to, that came to the planning board the other night, their attorney is my brother John. And he and I are both very committed environmentalists. He shares a lot of information with me. If there was ever any kind of conflict, I would have to recuse myself. But in discussions, it's become clear to me that if we're going to be having redevelopment so much closer to the river than we are now, we need to take steps to mitigate the impact there. And I would like to see if there's a way we can look into maybe assessing some kind of fee, an infrastructure fee. One of the things that the Charlotte Coalition says that we're lacking, we do a great job, and I really have to hand it to Public Works. Our storm system, our drainage and storm systems, the work there that they've done, all the blowouts and all that stuff, it's really a lot better than it was. But there are still some things that we're missing. We're not top of the line as far as preventing any kind of point source pollution getting into the river or the ocean. Those remedies are expensive, very expensive. What's the one thing you just mentioned to me? It's called the storm scepter. It goes into the line, very expensive, but it's the thing. If you put that in, then you're never going to have to worry about anything getting in the river. No oils, no kind of debris, nothing. And I'd like to see if there's a way we could, if somebody wants to develop a property that close to the river, I'd like to see what we could do as far as assessing them some kind of infrastructure fee so we can start to improve that. I mean, that's really kind of the final step in improving our stormwater management system. So that being said, I'm going to vote yes.
Councilman Liberty?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
Yes, I'd like to comment on what Tom is saying. When you develop a piece of property in a redevelopment zone, some of the things that you must prove to the planning board is sustainability, which means to be environmentally proactive, stormwater runoff, other factors that will be positive to that area. And we can see what has happened to the north end here and the success we've had in the years. And it's not going to be eminent domain. In other words, we're not going to bring in a master developer and do the whole area. Thing is, if you have the money and you want to develop a piece of property and you meet the planning board's guidelines for a redevelopment zone, redevelopment is good. It's positive. It's good for a municipality, especially for the future. Some of those buildings didn't meet, they met the criteria to be redeveloped. To put in a more efficient building in the years to come, I think is a smart thing to do, and I'm voting yes.
Councilman Kilgore?
Along those same lines, also along with environmental issues, I agree with both the councilmen. But also, I'm hoping that when people do go before the planning board, that they are considering on-property parking, more on-property parking. I think it's very important, and so I'm hoping the planning board will consider that. Yes.
Before we vote, George, Janice just mentioned something about parking. And I'm not going to amend this ordinance, but down the line, when the developer comes to us, can we require that they have just off-street parking and not, see, in the north end, what we've done in the past, I'm on the planning board, is a developer comes to us and they say, they have to provide, let's say, 50 parking spaces, but they only have 35, but we allow them to use 10 from public parking spaces on the street. Can we, in this new zone, require that they have to provide all 100% off-street parking, and they can't use the same plan that this area does?
The requirements of the plan will control the application. Honestly, I don't know what the parking requirements are in this plan off the top of my head. I'd have to take a look at that and get back to you with an answer on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Ordinance 2016-11.
Okay, first reading and introduction for ordinance number 2016-11, the ordinance of the Borough of Belmar amending Chapter 27, street excavations, sidewalks, and curbs. Do I have a second?
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Councilman Dever?
Yes.
Councilman Gilmore?
Yes.
Okay, now we move to the public session. You're going to come up to the microphone, state your name, and give your address. And we're going to, hold you to the 5 minutes. You should be able to get your point across in 5 minutes. If we can answer you, we'll try and do that. If we don't have an answer for you right now, we'll try and get that answer. But we're not going to get into a debate back and forth. Do I have anybody that would like to come to the microphone? Sir?
All three of us? You want all three of us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, come on.
Just state your names, all three. I guess the same person can give all three, right?
Yes.
All right.
My name is Jim Milton. This is Dorothy Thielen and John Ennis.
Okay, addresses.
I live in Wall on 17th Avenue.
501 15th Avenue, Belmar.
418 7th Belmar.
Pretty good. Without voice, John.
I am here for the Methodist Church on 7th and Day. I am the trustee president and also the custodian of the church inside and out. We understand that Belmar has an interest in our church, as stated before by Mrs. Blackburn. I am very willing to sit down with anyone for a meeting, take anybody or all for a tour through the facilities, so we can figure out which rooms you may be interested in. I've already started to shut down some of the stuff in the church because our last service there was September 11th. So some things will have to be turned back on again. But I can leave my phone number with you. Call me. I'm available anytime to help you proceed with what you want to do with our church.
Dorothy Thielen, you might have to lower that microphone.
Jump. You want to see that?
Just need to get up a little closer.
And if Lou was here, we'd have to raise it up to the max, right?
Okay, in addition to what Jim just said, we are anxious to keep the building open for the activities, the ongoing activities we have right now. The food pantry and the clothes closet is sad enough that we have to have it, but we are helping so many within this community. And when they leave our building with smiles on their faces, children laughing, then we've done the right thing. On top of that, we also hand out resources. Some we have gotten from the borough, all having to do with mammograms, that the free mammograms being given out, St. Vincent de Paul. We talk to everybody and point them in directions that maybe could help them out of a bind. So it is really important. We have a team of volunteers that are there that are willing to do whatever it takes to keep this building open. The church is not active, but the building is still open on Mondays and Thursdays. And if anyone wants to come by and pay us a visit, we'll take you for a tour and let you know what's going on and what we have, and share anything that we have to share with you.
Thank you.
If I could just make a comment, because I'm there quite often for the Cub Scouts. You work so hard over there. And I've seen her in action, and even, you know, she said she needed hangers once, and we spread the word, and everybody brought hangers. So please stop by, help out. I do have hangers in my car right now, actually.
We're good for hangers
but
right
it's-
now.
It's a wonderful place, so if they have a few minutes, it's close by.
Okay, John? Yep, we go.
I'm committee chairman for the Troop 40 Boy Scouts, not the Cub Scouts, for the Boy Scouts. We hold our meetings there. We have our annual food drive, scouting for food, our pancake breakfast, and our spaghetti dinner. And it's a valuable resource for us. We've scouted around. We don't want to recharter. We've been there, I think, close to 75 years. And it's a great building. We have options to recharter, but traditionally the scouts are chartered through the Methodist Church. So we would very much like to stay there. And we appreciate your input on sticking your neck out for us. And it's a valuable resource. And the scouts are growing leaps and bounds. And I think we provide a great service for the community to keep the kids off the street.
Well, the neck didn't have to go too far
Okay.
for both organizations, and the spaghetti dinners are always great.
Thank you.
Colleen, is this something we can set up and speak to these people about, let's say, a town?
We've already taken a few investigatory steps. Councilwoman Kim Blackburn was pretty adamant with us wanting these services to stay in the borough, and she's encouraged me to be as creative as possible to, quote, figure it out. So I am doing that. The ball is in the court of the Methodist Church actually right now. I'm waiting for the pastor to get back to me with some basic information, and then I'd be having conversations with Mr. McGill and doing some more research about how this could happen, where the church would essentially remain the landlord.
Church would be the landlord.
The services that currently exist could continue to run, and the borough would be able to utilize portions of the building for senior activities, lectures, yoga, things of that sort. So many of our library offerings are now so popular, it doesn't fit in the library. Just as our senior lunch is now so popular, it doesn't fit in the community room. So it's definitely a resource that we want to see happen, and I'll be working hard to make sure that we do it legally and appropriately. So we'll be back with some more information as soon as I hear back from the bishop, and we'll let you know what we think is possible.
George, quick question. It's a church.
I hate that, by the way.
Don't you?
Quick question.
Okay. Well, actually, I want a quick answer.
There are none.
Church, municipality, is there any problems with church, the separation of church?
You're asking me a constitutional law question, that's a quick question.
Church and state.
This is moving on up to the Supreme Court for you, George.
The borough has the ability to lease space that it requires for its needs and uses.